Welcome to Face to Face. This is a show about change and about what's next. It's a show that wants to ask questions, peel back the layers of our average everyday experience, and go beyond scratching the surface. We interview amazing people with incredible ideas and stories who have done wild, weird, and wonderful things. Remember that imagination shared create collaboration, and collaboration creates community, and community inspires social change. I'm David Peck, and this is Face to Face. So welcome to Face for another episode. I think this is episode 63.2. I'm not sure. And our guest today is Drew Marshall. And believe it or not, Drew and I are actually sitting in a studio that I think was designed in about 1963. Drew, thanks for joining us.
AM Christian Radio.
That's right. You should see the wallpaper. It's
Paisley.
It's an outrage.
Paisley.
So thanks for joining us, Drew. And so we've got 30 to 40 minutes with you to talk about things.
Really?
Yeah,
You and I can fill that talking about our lactose intolerance. So,
do we share that? We do indeed. Yeah, exactly. So Drew's been on the radio for quite a few years. He's got quite a CV of guests that he's interviewed, that he's spoken with. I've had the opportunity to co-host a show with him a couple of months ago, and we interviewed a few pretty interesting guests.
Who did we have on? Do you remember?
I remember Larry King, and I remember the guy from the bullying guy from the Sandra Bullock film.
Oh yeah, the guy was the actor from Blindside.
Yeah, and then was it Conan? Was he the other guy we had on?
Oh no, we had Hercules.
Hercules.
That's right. Why can't I remember his name?
Yeah.
The guy who played Hercules.
Yeah, and I think you'd had him on before because you guys were pretty friendly,
pretty chummy.
But Larry King, it was an interesting interview with Larry King. He was at a baseball game, I think.
Yeah,
sitting there with his cell phone, watching his grandson.
Yeah,
play.
no, his son.
His son.
His like 10-year-old son.
10-year-old son. Wow.
Who will be fatherless soon.
And who will be fatherless soon, true enough. I got to say, it was an interesting conversation that you had with him because it sounded to me like he was kind of. By
the way, can I just read? I feel bad about saying he will be fatherless soon. I feel horrible about saying that.
Really? And yet
look, the obvious point was Larry King's really old and he had kids.
Yes.
So did David Letterman.
Do you want to start over?
No, I just felt guilty about it.
It's the beauty of digital audio.
No, that's fine.
I used
to interrupt.
I used to line in a performance this morning. I was on stage, and as soon as it comes out, it's like shooting a ball in pool. Right? As soon as the cue hits the ball,
yeah.
it's going to go out.
Yeah. As soon as they say, I now pronounce you man and wife, you go, oh my.
Did you say manual and wife?
Manual. Yes, a little Mexican guy that married.
Yeah. What I found interesting, about Larry, let's get back to Larry in a second, but you've been on God Radio for years now. You've been interacting with a really interesting group of people, asking a lot of, I would say, pretty reflective, important questions, but also doing a lot of comedy as well. You consider yourself a bit of a comedian, eh?
No. Anybody that considers themselves a comedian is usually like the least funniest person in the world.
Right. Well, probably true. But you've done a lot of stand-up, haven't you, over the years?
No, I did a little bit. I was did some Second City improv courses, Second City stand-up comedy. Just to sort of see how I compared. Because I used to kick footballs, and I didn't know if I was a good kicker until I went to NFL training camp and watched other guys absolutely hammer the ball while I sat on the sidelines and went, okay, I think I'll go back to the CFL.
Is that as far as you got at the camp?
Yeah. Yep, that was it. Yeah.
So no registration? No dinners?
No
schmoozing?
No. I remember watching Louis Aguiar from Kansas City Chiefs just pummel this ball. And you suck as a punter when you're watching another guy kick and your mouth is open. Wow. I want to be like him.
That's funny.
Anyway, what was I saying?
Yeah,
How did that
you didn't even quite make it to the camp.
What was the comparison? What were we talking about before that?
Well, we were just talking about some of the guests that you've
funny. Yeah. Do you consider
humor?
Yourself funny? Yeah, sure.
So stand-up has been a little bit. That's great.
Look, I think there's enough boring, too serious stuff out there. I mean, I grew up in the church. That's the epitome of boring and too serious. And I'm too ADD, so you gotta keep me. And the way to keep people, for the most part, is a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
Guy I really respecting the way he communicates with God stuff is Brooks. And with Brooksy Cavey, Bruxy gave you from the meeting house.
Okay.
As I have indigestion, shawarma indigestion into the microphone.
Nice.
He is, I think, one of the best teachers because of his knowledge, his balance, but also because when he's overtired and he comes in to do a message, he lets his guard down a little more, and the funny comes out. I've told him this for years. Dude, you are funny, naturally funny guy. Let it go.
Well, there's a difference too, right? There's a difference between somebody being naturally funny on stage and somebody being just hanging out at a party and they crack a joke and everybody laughs, right? It's very different. So it's been a bit of a hobby for you. You felt that behind the microphone in the studio should translate to the stage.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's easier for people to listen to some interview. And you know what? There's way too many people that try too hard to be funny.
Yeah.
And then there's you don't want to try to throw funny in. Like for example, we're going to be speaking with I don't know when this is airing, but we'll be speaking with Dick Hoyt from Team Hoyt, who's the father-son marathon and triathlete athletes or runners, whatever. And Dick is like, I don't know, 1,000 years old, but he carries his paraplegic son with him, quadriplegic son.
Wow.
So when he's running, he pushes him in a thing. When he's bicycling, his adult son, is strapped to a deal in front of the bike. And then when he's swimming, he tows his son in a boat behind him. And you don't want to be talking to Dick and Rick Hoyt this weekend about the bombings in Boston and put funny in a wrong spot. Certainly there can be lightheartedness here or there. But if you just don't want to do that, in the wrong time.
It's interesting. Last night my wife and I love to watch Jon Stewart, and last night both Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert started out as if they were going to start their show the same way, and then immediately went into this kind of pseudo memorial kind of homage to Boston, and what a tragedy, and isn't it great that we can all stick together and so on. And you kind of felt as if Stewart wanted to be funny and wasn't sure, and yet he's great with that for the most part. And what was interesting to me is I think Colbert actually handled it better than Jon Stewart did in a way, which is really interesting.
And they both handle it better than Seth MacFarlane.
Seth Rogen, is it?
No, it's all right. Seth MacFarlane.
Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah, we got that backwards.
Yes, that's right.
Seth MacFarlane from Family Guy. They pulled his show because they made a reference of that. So anyway,
still unknown what's going. So what's funny? So you've been on God Radio. You grew up in the church. You've talked about the meeting house and Bruxy and so on and messages. What's funny about God? What's funny about Christians? I mean, is it inherently?
Those are two hugely different questions.
Yeah.
What's funny about God? Apparently, there's funny stuff in the Bible that if we understood it more in that context, we would chuckle more. But I'm not a big. I don't think there's much funny about God. I'm not even sure if God exists.
Right.
That's where I'm at.
Okay.
What's funny about the church? Oh my goodness, that is the deepest well of comedic material. Seriously. Think about any dysfunctional families you've been a part of, whether it's your own or your spouse's or friends, then multiply it by 10. That's the church.
So why so dysfunctional? I mean, was it dysfunctional in the church you grew up as well?
No, I don't think I realized the dysfunction until maybe, a little bit later. Plus, look, I've got an attitude problem, and I study human nature and sort of from a sociological understanding, I'm more eyes wide open that way than I am. Like, I should be listening to the freaking message, not analyzing, how the guy is communicating the message, or whether his fly is open, or why do they have the smoke machine going during the Jesus singing time, or look at this person, are they being genuine or disingenuous, all this kind of stuff. That's how I just analyze everything in front of me. And so why is the church, is it
lack of humanity, lack of authenticity? I mean,
is it Assisi or Augustine? I think it was Assisi that said, "The church is a whore, but she's my mother." And so, did the church give birth to a lot of spiritual birth to a lot of people? Yes, myself included, I guess, in some ways. Although mine was sort of more parachurch, Christian camping ministry. But are we an unfaithful lot? Yeah, and it's supposed to be. If you're sick and in need of a doctor, then you'll get Jesus. If you think you're all out in a bag of chips, you're never going to get him. So then who should be flocking to the Jesus buildings? Screw-ups. And if you go to a nice, happy, shiny church where everybody's good-looking, that's a sign of a very unhealthy church. It should be a lot of ugly, dysfunctional, irritating people.
Broken, a sense of brokenness.
Sure.
And yet, I grew up in the church as well, as you probably know, and I feel kind of the same way as you do. I think there was that sense of brokenness, and yet in the place that I grew up in, there was an unwillingness to talk about it. There was an unwillingness to actually face it and say, yeah, you know what, I'm kind of screwed up as well, and let's meet about that. Let's hang out about that.
And so what are we talking about? We're talking about authenticity.
Right.
That is for me the crux of the matter. And if you've got a leadership team or pastor or elders that are doing a 24/7 carpet sweeping, they're just continually sweeping stuff under the carpet and coming out with pleasant smiles and having to tie up every message with a little bow, or there's some television networks out there that say in their contract before you go on their shows, this needs to be positive. We need to finish, on a positive note, and don't wear ripped jeans. Just thought I'd mention that.
Is that right? Eh?
Yeah.
Wow. That's in their riders. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, and that's not it. Look, I'm, and you probably are as well. But
this is the 21st century, right?
Let me check. Mike Yaconelli, right? A big book of his was A Messy Spirituality, and that was the book that I wanted to write, but he wrote first. And the point is that messy spirituality is the Christianity most of us live, but few of us admit. Why aren't we admitting this? On my website, drewmarshall.ca, if you go to the picture page, right down at the very bottom, there's a picture of me standing in the Judean desert in Israel, butt-ass naked, facing away from the camera because it was cold that day. And my point behind that, the caption of that picture is vulnerable before the Creator. And that is how we need to approach our spiritual lives. Because vulnerability is necessary for spiritual growth. If you are not willing to be vulnerable, then you will never be teachable. And if you're not teachable, then you will not grow spiritually. Ooh, that's
good. Hey, can I write that down?
Is that a soundbite?
That might be a soundbite.
Pete Rollins the other day. Do you know him, Peter Rollins?
I know the name.
He was in Newmarket here in Ontario, and he said something at the end, which is, hey, if we want to be more like God, let's do what he did and become more human.
Right. Nice. That's a great line. So it's a lack of humanity. But hang on. I thought, so if God doesn't exist, though, why are you standing naked before the Creator?
Because I really hope he does. I really hope there is a God.
So you live in kind of a hope-so world, or a hope-so universe.
Sure. And I don't know whether that's just because I'm a wuss or because I've been living in the God scene for so long and I just can't shake it. If you live a certain lifestyle for a long time, it's really hard to shake it.
Habit, addiction.
And whatever. maybe I'm just a wuss, But I really hope, I hope there's an all-loving, all-knowing, fix-it-all-in-the-end Creator. But I tell you, when you all of a sudden allow yourself to go, maybe there isn't, you know what that does? That actually motivates you to live your freaking life. Because if you die tomorrow and they throw dirt in your face and that's it, then giddy up now.
Yeah. So how has that played itself out practically for you? What does that mean exactly? Does that mean sleeping in on Sunday morning?
Yes. Yes.
Do you raise your kids differently as a result of that? Do you travel to other places?
Do
you do yoga?
Yes. No, I wouldn't. That's like backward masking.
Right.
It's translated into, well, look, it's still a journey. When I first came out, and I use air quotes on a podcast,
That's right.
when I first came out about my spiritual conundrum, some might call it a dark night of the soul or whatever.
Right. Which was a few years ago on air?
Yeah, about 4 years ago.
Was it on air?
It was on air with an apologist named Ravi Zacharias.
And had this been staged? Not staged, wrong word, Drew. But
planned?
Did you know that it was coming?
No.
It was just, you said, hey, Ravi, I
got to be honest
done,
with you.
Or I think I'm done.
Yeah, I said the closest I've been to chucking the faith is now. I'm not even sure there is a God anymore. And boy, you get, the sociological study surrounding that sort of a deal is very interesting, for people to, their reaction to me. Other people's reaction to me not being sure where I'm at spiritually has just been wild. From accusatory to abusive, manipulative, to condescending, to the very, very odd.
This is just from your family.
Yeah, and this is exactly just my children. He's here all week, folks. Enjoy the veal.
That's right.
And then, the odd person would say something like, look, I can't, I've got nothing to offer you. I just want to let you know, I'm praying for you and I wish you the best. And I feel tough for you.
Right.
That's all you need to say.
So there was some generosity there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's the odd person with a pulse.
Phone calls, emails?
No, what's interesting, though, David? I had a lot of people, not a lot, I had a number of people who said, if I could only say what you said, but I can't, because if I said what you said, I'd lose my job.
Yeah, it's tragic. What have we done? What has the church done to the truth?
Seriously, if you can't say things that people in the Bible have said, if you can't say things or admit things that great Christian foundational fathers like C.S. Lewis or Malcolm Muggeridge or Mother Teresa have said, really? I mean, there's a serious pussification going on when it comes to
talk about a massive disconnect. It's unfair to even call it a disconnect. It's just plain out wrong.
Yeah, but I think we have unintentionally maybe done this. We're all a byproduct of our culture and subcultures, and I think we have helped to create this. Let's not just blame all of the leaders, as I like to do, because I think they're held in higher accountability for sure. But the pew sitters, we respond really nicely to the guy came up there and he used to be an axe murderer and then he found Jesus and now everything's great and he doesn't even own an axe. Oh, bless the Lord, blessed be Jesus. And we praise him, we praise him, we praise him, and the donations go up that day too.
Right.
Well, duh. What do the leaders hook into?
Yeah.
Well, we got to give it, this,
Yeah, and you get writers that say you got to be positive.
No ripped jeans.
No ripped jeans. Yeah. Wow. It's crazy. So, well, you know what makes me a bit crazy about this is that it seems to have gone on for so long, at least for the length of my lifetime anyway, when I watch what happens on television, when I read the different reports in the newspaper, there's very much a cliche response about what a Christian is or what an evangelical is. And when you say you grew up in the church, just for we should have probably talked about this earlier, but we're talking evangelical?
No, United.
United. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I grew up in a church. My family went to church because they came from the country up here in Ontario.
Okay.
And when you live in the country, you go to church. And you go to the United Church, maybe the Anglican Church. But back in those days, everyone went to the United Church because it was community.
Yeah. And would you say pretty legalistic? A lot of rules, had to wear a certain type of clothing.
Oh, yeah, but that was more cultural than, I don't think that was necessarily theologically pushed. There was no spiritual abuse. It was just cultural abuse.
It was just cultural abuse. Yeah.
George Stroumboulopoulos and I talked about the same. No, not George. Sorry, Bruce Coburn and I talked about the fact that our parents used to make us wear gray flannels that itched. Itchy friggin' pants. I think I just spit on you. Sorry. Itchy pants.
Don't get it on
and then the dress shirt or whatever.
Yeah.
And,
now Coburn's a guy who's struggled with his spirituality as well, hasn't he? His faith.
Yeah, but what if you think of Coburn and spirituality? What's the next word? Authenticity.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I'll never forget the Trouble with Normal, was it? When that album came out, he's sitting on the front with a cigarette and a beer in a bar in Toronto.
Did Jesus people freak?
Oh yeah, of course they did, right? Because up to that point, it was all the diamonds that glitter in this world.
So which one came first, that or Amy Grant getting divorced?
Right. What a culture, eh? What a subculture. It's troubling on so
every
many
tribe
levels.
comes with their own baggage, right? I've said this for a long time. Everybody's gift has a backside. My gift is my mouth. What gets me into trouble the most? My mouth.
If you want to see Drew's, go to his website.
If you want to see my backside, yeah.
drewmarshall.ca.
That's right, yeah. Shoot, what was I saying? Oh, so, and every tribe has issues and baggage. You hang out with a Lions Club, the Rotarians,
the fish fry on Friday afternoons.
Yes. You hang out with the polygamists. They've got their issues too.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, I think, and that's what I wanted to get to when I was saying, we talked about you being United and Anglican and so on. And I think what irritates me is that what we have today, or what we've come up with today, is now being sort of misconstrued as what the church actually is. And so you've got this lack of authenticity. You've got people in the West looking at this kind of behavior saying, yeah, why would I want anything to do with that?
Right.
Of any kind. Of course there's no God. If that's the kind of a believer that comes out of it,
well, hold on, but they're not saying,
or a person that comes out of it, why?
Right. Well, the HuffPost came out a little while ago with a thing that said, not everybody is saying there's no God, but the nuns, N-O-N-E-S, not the chicks with the robes,
right.
The chicks with the robes.
How many people are you going to offend here today?
The chicks with
I've
the
got
robes.
several on my list.
And the run in their nylons. None in their nylons. Anyway, the nuns who don't associate with any particular faith tradition or denomination or church or whatever.
Okay.
That's a huge group. The nuns are massive right now.
Interesting.
Massive.
I haven't heard
that.
that.
And they still believe and want to believe that there is a God.
Right. And would you put yourself in the category, small n or capital?
Yeah, but I don't, you know what, it used to be cool to go, yeah, I don't go to church anymore, man. After having look, I 30 plus years of being a Christ follower. I was a pastor for 5 years in Australia, and I've been doing the show for 10 years, and I just realized.
And I wanted to say, and a pornographer for 12.
And I was a pornographer for 12. How did you find out? Boy, you do your research.
I do my research.
Well done.
Man.
Good for you.
Yeah.
You're so weird, man. Oh, crap. What? Don't do that.
I'm
What was I saying?
sorry. It's
Nuns. It was cool to just do.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm not going to church anymore. And people look. I get labeled all the time as I am a bit of an autodidactic iconoclast, but I'm not trying to be a pain in the ass just for the sake of being a pain in the ass. That's what I get accused of all the time. You're just saying that for a reaction.
Yeah.
Okay, if there is a reaction, great. But I'm not saying things for a reaction. I'm saying things because this is how I feel. So I realized when I pulled away from church. Look, it's primarily my issue. There's lots of people out there that don't have my baggage, my ADD tendencies, my socio-analytical kind of, look, one of the most restful weeks I ever had was when I went blind for a week of Lent. About 4 years ago, I got a friend of mine who's an optometrist who sourced out some black contact lenses for me. I put them in for the entire week, went blind for an entire week.
Who makes black contact lenses?
Like,
That's really odd.
Yeah. Halloween places. And stuff.
Anyway, Marilyn Manson.
Yeah. But it was exhausting. But it was at the end.
So a full week.
Yeah, no sight.
No sight.
Yep. But it was
Did you cheat at all?
No, at night I had to take them out because if you left them in overnight, you'd suffocate the retinas, and it would cause some brain damage. No, eye damage.
Right.
And so I went into the dark bathroom and took out the contact lenses, and then put on the little night.
Night thing.
What do you call those? When you get them at hotels in first class on airplanes.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was very relaxing. There were the times afterwards where I thought, I miss not noticing everything.
Right.
I really kind of.
Did you do that because you had a guest coming on, or?
No, I did that because my eyesight has always gotten in the way of my spiritual growth. So whether that's trust issues or lust issues, my eyesight has always gotten in the way. And I was kind of hoping, I wonder if I did this, if there's any possible way I might be able to tune in to a different frequency, something that I'm missing. Because it forces you.
As far as the God hypothesis is concerned?
As far as the thinning, maybe a possible, as the Celts and C.S. Lewis would talk, a thinning. So the chasm between the created and the creator getting thinner.
Right.
To the point where I go, I think I can hear you, God.
Right. And isn't that what meditation really is all about? I mean, to some degree.
I guess I'm too ADD to friggin' meditate.
Yeah. Well, it's tough. I mean, I've been doing yoga for a couple of years now, and I mean, within seconds of getting into a particular position, and I do restorative or meditative, I'm thinking about the craziest things, like why the door didn't close on the dryer, and I haven't done clothes in 2 weeks, and the oddest things come up, just really odd. Was that a dentine wrapper that I saw on the way in?
No,
it's just, hang on, I'm supposed to be meditating. Did the Dalai Lama put up with this as well?
You know what? That's why, you and I probably have made fun over some sort of, early on, I used to not be a big fan of liturgy.
Right.
And chanting or repetitive nonsense, right?
Yeah.
But now I understand why they do that stuff.
Yeah, no, I totally...
like Tony Campolo says, he gets up, I just talked to him last week, he says, when I get up every morning, in order to, I can't remember, he's quoting somebody else, might have been Lewis again, probably. Let's just do that because it sounds cool.
Yeah. It's like Mark Twain.
Yeah.
If you don't know who it is, just say C.S. Lewis
said.
Yeah.
So, like Donald Trump was saying,
that's right.
There's a respectful thing. I have to spend 20 minutes every morning pushing out the animals. And all he does, apparently, I don't know if I believe him or not, because, he's Italian, right? Who knows? Is he just goes, Jesus. Jesus.
Yeah. Feign repetition.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's interesting. I mean, that's essentially what a Buddhist would do, from a meditative perspective. Focus on a word or a sound or something kind of in the environment to create a little bit more of, a focused start to the day.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what Campolo is trying to do as well.
Well, look, as far as I'm concerned, from my issues are my issues. Yep. I've spent way too long.
Yeah, but I think you said something earlier that to me says there are also other people's issues as well.
Well, a lot of people have said thanks for coming out with this stuff.
Yeah.
But I know. Look, I got my own issues, my own baggage, and I know that I'm not. It's not healthy for me to keep going to church, and I haven't for 4 years, something like that. To keep going to church, and sitting there going, this sucks. This sucks. Every Sunday. That's my mantra. This sucks. This sucks. This sucks.
Right.
You know, a 50-minute message for most human beings is too long.
Right.
For me, I want to put a bullet in my head.
Right.
It's way too long, you know. And then you get the cheesy Jesus singers up front singing erotic love songs to their boyfriend.
Right.
And then you get Happy Clappy Buddy beside you making erotic noises as he's praying. Yes, Lord. Yes. Oh, yes, Lord.
You must go to a conservative church.
Can I tell one time I was at a fraternal prayer? No, fraternal. You know, what am I trying to say? A bunch of different pastors got together from different denominations, and they were talking about they're trying to do the kumbaya thing, and let's work together. You know, let's eat Oreos. And this prayer time, and I got the Happy Clappy beside me, right? The guy with the gold tooth from the charismatic Pentecostal church,
right.
And he's praying.
Wearing aqua velvet.
No, it was high karate.
High karate.
It was high karate.
I think we just dated ourselves, but still, it was worth the reference.
And he is doing his erotic prayer to Jesus, and that's fine. That's his deal. Whatever. Anyway, it comes my turn now, and I'm pretty relaxed with my prayer thing, and I actually become very quiet when I'm because I'm trying to pray to God, not to the guys around me.
A God that you're not sure.
A God that I'm not even sure is there.
Yeah,
so I'm not going to, you know.
Yeah.
Well, he keeps the eroticism going beside me.
Oh boy.
And I get I can't even think straight because I'm going,
You're getting
hey God, like, listen, I want to thank you for the, and he's going, oh Lord Jesus, listen to him, listen, hear his word. I finally had to reach over, touched him on the leg so his eyes opened, and I went, shh.
Did you chat afterwards over
I just said
decaffeinated tea?
Yeah. We had some Welch's grape juice for communion.
Right. Yes.
Anyway.
Oh man. So is it a phase, Drew? I mean, is God died as far as you're concerned? Are you Nietzsche said, the death, or pronounced, didn't say, but pronounced the death of God. Is that where we're at?
You mean society or personally?
No, I think personally, because I mean, I get this. I get this sense that you, like you said, the hope so side. You kind of hope, you want there to be a God. You still live within the culture to some degree. You host a radio program. You're clearly speaking into it in your own way. Prophetic voice, maybe, right?
Did you say pathetic?
Maybe, yeah, capital P. So it's an odd mix to me. And yet...
Yeah, but that's it, man.
Yeah.
It's the tension of discovering the God of the in-betweens. Not the God of the highs, not the God of the lows. It's the God of the dead air.
Yeah.
What is up with that?
Yeah. So it's the struggle. I've often said life is paradox, complexity, contradiction. That is life. That's
the names of your kids?
That's right. Yes. Sonny and Cher, we love them. What were their kids' names? Do you remember that?
Chaz.
Yeah,
and
Frank
then
Zappa,
Chazette.
Kids' name. Yeah, Chaz and Chazette. Yeah.
Yeah,
but I truly believe that. I mean, it's taken me a long time to come to terms with that and say, you know what, that is the normal. And now it's how do you weed through that? So I think the in between makes a whole lot of sense to me.
Look, I think, Dave, that I'm giving rebirth. So I had to kill myself, kill my spiritual life, and kill my God.
Yeah.
And then I had to start over again. So I stripped away all tribal conditioning because I wanted to know if what I was believing was true. And the only way you're going to figure that out is by figuring out if your beliefs are being propped up by tribal conditioning. Yeah. So spiritual disciplines, circumstantial evidence, circumstantial evidence, tribal convictions, and I don't know, something else. So I just stripped it all away, and now I'm coming into starting with some new. I'm learning to speak again, a new language, and I've gotten rid of my certainty language.
Right.
The evangelical North American church is loaded with certainty language.
It is. Yeah.
And when you
I would say our culture is, but the church
especially
full of it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, which came first? The American we can, we will,
Yeah, and having studied philosophy for so many years, what you're doing is what Descartes did when he wrote, that whole "I think, therefore I am." He tried to he destroyed everything, or at least so he said. I'm going to reduce everything to its most basic infrastructure from a metaphysical perspective. What's the only thing I got? Well, I'm a thinking thing. I think, therefore I am. And then we've got Nietzsche 300 years later who says, how do you philosophize with a hammer? Right? You take an item or an idea and you test it and you tap it and you see if it can withstand some kind of a stress. And talk about a guy who's been misunderstood.
Me?
You have been very misunderstood. Yeah. Hopefully not in our podcast here today, but Nietzsche, people, and it makes me crazy because here was a guy who actually prophesied, I believe, where we sit today. You want that world of certainty? Well, you know what it's actually going to bring you, ironically, ultimately, because life is contradiction, paradox, and complexity? It's going to bring you a lack of certainty. It's going to bring you this ugly postmodernism, because if you take that down through to its logical conclusion, it's pretty troubling what you wind up with.
Are you high? How do you know all this stuff? This is amazing.
That's right.
It's
the yoga.
A friend of mine named Dan Taylor, who wrote the book The Myth of Certainty, is...
Oh, I think I've read that.
Oh, yeah, it's brilliant. And he just came out with another one called The Skeptical Believer, telling stories to your inner atheist. Fantastic read. Hi, Dan, if you're listening, I love you tenderly. That was weird.
That was very...
The premise of his book is that doubt is more compatible with faith than certainty.
Yeah, and I don't know who said that doubt is the shadow cast by faith.
Right.
I've looked for that. I've tried to figure out who said that.
C.S. Lewis.
Probably, or Mark Twain. Actually, could have been Frank
C.S.
Zappa
Twain.
for all.
Frank Zappa, yeah.
But seriously, and I've taken a certain amount of comfort in that. Doubt is the shadow cast by faith, because that, for me, I don't know about. Well, it sounds like to you as well.
Yeah.
That for me.
Isn't there another quote about it? It's the ugly redheaded stepchild of faith. Doubt is the ugly redheaded stepchild of faith. I like that one. Can I do that one?
You can do that one. Yeah.
Doubt is the Ralph Malph of faith.
Ralph Malph. Another dated reference. Yeah.
Look, I got so exhausted.
Anyone under the age of 37 won't get about 3 or 4 of the things we've been talking about.
I just got exhausted clinging to Pascal's wager.
Right. Which is what?
Which is a Big Mac, small fries, and a large iced tea. No, it's basically live your life that there is a God, because if there is a God, hey, that was a good move.
Yep.
And if there isn't a God, what have you really lost by living life that there is?
Right.
You know what I mean? You live a good life.
Hence the wager.
Right?
Yeah.
But the crapshoot and the Pascal's wager, and then you look at Oscar the Grouch's razor. No, Occam's razor. I don't know.
Yeah, Occam's razor. Yeah.
And I want to know. And this is the paradox. I want to know.
Yeah.
But yet, I realize the value of no certainty. I want to know, which is certainty.
Yeah.
But now I'm finally understanding the value of not being certain, and yet I want to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. No,
because, dude, we read a relational book. Bunch of relationships in that book. God being interactive with each other. Others being interactive, God being interactive with people, and people being interactive with other people, and people being interactive with God. Then we live in a relational world where we relate to each other. And we're told we're in relationship with God. Well, really? I'm living through vicariously through other people's faith stories. And I asked a lot of heavy hitters about tell me about your faith story. Tell me about the time you encountered you had a tangible relational encounter with the creator of the universe. Stories sucked. They were horrible. An atheist friend of mine sat down and listened to a bunch of them, went over them. Horrible. I prayed to God and got a parking spot kind of stories.
Wow.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Now, you can't tell someone, you can, maybe the odd time I did, but for the most part, you want to be amicable and nice because we're Canadian.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, that's nice. I'm glad that worked for you. But you can't sit there and go, that is just pathetic. So they have theirs, they hang on to them, they're doing their life and their seasons. I listen, my internal commentary goes,
Yeah. So there's a tension, there's a struggle, there's there's an atheism.
And these are just my bowel movements.
That's right, and only today. Is that now the new normal for you, do you think? You've talked a little bit about liturgy. Sounds like there might be a bit of a shift. You talked about a new language.
It's just, I hate to admit this, but as much as I still am and recognize myself to be very much of, sort of an autodidactic iconoclast. I love saying that. It just makes me sound
It's
so good.
tough to get all in one mouthful.
But I don't play well with others sometimes. I like hanging out with others, but I'm not good long term with others because I get tired of me and I already then go, I know they're tired of me, and then I get all weird around other people. So I still really, 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 really want there to be a God. I really do, and there's a belonging thing here that happens. And this is the part I hate to admit. We all want to be a member of the cast of Cheers, where everyone knows your name. Now, listen, I've got 4 pubs where everyone knows my name, but there's a belonging thing here, and now that I've found some people that get it, you're one of them, right? It's nice to, and I don't want to hang out with you, but there's it's nice to know that people, you can see the light come on in their eyes.
Right.
You're not wasting your time or their time rattling on with this incessant inner atheist.
Yeah. Well, it's a maintenance of the status quo is what it is, and that, I think for both of us, makes us crazy on whatever level. You want to talk about philosophy or theology or relationships, I'm just kind of not interested in the status quo. I'm really not. The whole idea of balance, I don't know, to me is kind of like, it's helpful, but there's a mediocre edge to it.
Yeah.
There's a mediocre edge to it. There's got to be tension. There's got to be a struggle for there to be any kind of growth at all.
Yeah.
Woody Allen said, I think it was in Annie Hall, which I just think is a brilliantly written.
Was he quoting C.S. Lewis?
He probably was. He was quoting Albert Einstein, who said, God will never play dice with the world. And he's in a conversation with somebody, and he says, he just plays hide and seek.
Yes, I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great line, and clearly a struggle for him at some time in his life. And I think we all want... If any of us have ever been faced with some sort of creator, God hypothesis of one kind or another, we all want something tangible. W.H. Auden said, the table exists because I scrub it, right? Which is beautiful, but it's really empirical and it's in your face. And you and I are sharing something that, can anyone really share this like with a creator of one kind, or with Buddha, with Muhammad, with Christ?
Don't get all friggin' kumbaya, incense burning, hug a whale, kiss a tree on me here, dude.
I should have brought some incense.
Folks, he's breaking into a downward doggy.
That's right. Yeah, depending on your weight, that can be a very troubling position.
Man.
That can be hard to get into and hard to get out of.
It is, and it's awkward when the person in front of you has anal leakage.
That's really troubling. What studio do you go to? Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. You don't do yoga.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So, well,
What else? You got something else?
Do we got something else? Tell me what's next. You got the Drew Marshall show, drewmarshall.ca.
drewmarshall.ca, Saturdays 1 to 5, live here on Joy 1250.
Tell me some guests. I wanted to ask you, let's just, before we wrap up, tell me something you've learned from the crazy, wonderful, famous and not so infamous guests that you've interviewed over the years.
It's really helped me with my own insecurities, because everybody's anybody, anybody's everybody.
Right.
There's no
right.
like I got pretty wound when I interviewed James Brown in his suite after a concert. Now, here's a couple of reasons. One, I just watched James freaking Brown perform.
Right.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Then I went up to a suite to have a personal face-to-face, not a phone or a face-to-face. Then it was like 3 in the morning, and I was exhausted. So I was a little, happy about that one. That was cool.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, 10 years of celebrities and prominent people or whatever, and you just keep it real. I don't get wound about anyone.
Well, that's good. So what's the takeaway?
Hold on. There is one person I would get a little excited about. One person.
Okay.
James Taylor.
James Taylor. Interesting.
Yeah.
Why?
I revere the guy. I hope I find some dirt about him so that I can go back to being secure again about my life.
That's hilarious. Well, thanks,
so I've learned. That's what I've learned. I've learned to.
We're all in this together, kind of.
Yeah, and I don't take myself seriously. You can't. You're Canadian, so you're not allowed to. Number one.
Yeah.
and the authentic. Look, people will, no matter how stupid people are, everyone has the ability to sniff out whether someone's being authentic or not.
Yeah, it's true. I totally believe it. The truth in the end.
They might not be able to verbalize what you're not going to sit there and go, oh, I sense he's very authentic. Some people are stupid and they can't verbalize it like that. But look, that's one of the reasons I think the Jesus thing is actually the way to go. Before I reinvest another 30 years in Jesus, I would like to kind of wrap my head around whether there's a God or not first.
Right.
But the reason I get the Jesus thing is because stupid people can get it. Hockey players can get this.
Right.
Try figuring out Scientology, dude. Not a chance.
Right.
Not going to be many pro athletes in Scientology. Let me just tell you.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't done the research on that one.
Anyway.
Well, it's interesting that we've kind of come back to the whole...
Scientology?
To the truth question again.
Oh.
And so for me, what I'm hearing you say, and this is a nice way to wrap up, I think is that truth is kind of relational. That, you can't necessarily put your finger on it, but boy, you know when you got it.
Yep. You don't know how lousy no-name chocolate milk is until you try no-name chocolate milk. You don't realize how good Nestle's chocolate milk is until you try the no-name crap. I have no idea if that is what I'm actually trying to say or not.
Nice way to take a really important conversation and redact it to a bunch of meaningless drivel. That's what I found. For me, it's orange juice.
Yeah, there you go.
Got the really fresh squeeze.
Perfectly.
And then you got some tang-like abomination.
Exactly.
Right? And
why would I drop Nestle? Why would I drop a name that kills babies in Africa? Why would I do that?
That's right. And on that note. So, Drew, thanks for joining us. And I mean, we'll do this again, I'm sure.
Yes.
Whether or not the recorder's going will be another story. But thank you. DrewMarshall.ca. His show's on Saturday from 1 to 5. Plays around the world,
Yeah, it's live streaming 1 to 5 Eastern.
Yeah. It's
and
called
then
the Internet, I believe.
Yeah, it's called the Internet. And then we archive all of our... We have 10 years of celebrity guests up there.
Who's coming up?
Oh, shoot. Hold on. Don't do this to me, man. Well, we have one of the world's leading Buddhists who is going to come up on our show. We're doing a segment called Soul Survivor, 5 religious tribes competing for the soul of one person.
Wow, cool.
And I met Catalina at the Hare Krishna Temple in Toronto while I was interviewing Swami Bhaktimarj, and she's our contestant. We've had Tribe Muslim compete for her soul, Tribe Mormon, Tribe Jesus with Billy Graham's daughter. Now we have Tribe Buddhist, and then we're going to get Tribe Hare Krishna because she wants to meet Swami Bhaktimarj. And then I'd like to get, I'm trying to get Penn Teller to come on and represent Tribe Atheist.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
How about Tribe Capitalist? That could be pretty interesting.
Back to Donald Trump.
Back to Donald Trump. DrewMarshall.ca. Check out his show. Thanks, Drew.